Listen, this is not the dry schoolbook version of old Greek legends. It is the living, breathing tale of men and gods, of deserts and seas, of monstrous heads and golden fleece, told as if the ancient world itself stood at the fire and spoke. Tonight, settle in. We begin in a valley called Argus, where two brothers, twins by birth and enemies by habit, cut their country into two with jealousy and cruelty. One day, a prophet told Acrisius a terrible thing. A child would be born to his line who would be the cause of his death. Fear hardened the king. He sealed his beautiful daughter Danae in an underground chamber lined with brass, so no man might come near her. Yet, the gods have ways of slipping through the strongest doors. Danae became mother to a boy more splendid than any human child, a child she named Perseus. Acrisius, driven by dread, put mother and child into a wooden chest and set them out to sea, thinking the winds and waves would finish what he would not do himself. Imagine the chest bumping and rocking across a summer sea, a tiny place made of wood and hope. Danae singing to the baby to keep her sanity, the wind carrying them like a lullaby past headlands and islands into open water. For 2 days and 2 nights they drift. Halcyon birds wheel above, those old Greek birds of myth whose nests the gods make safe. When the chest is about to strike cliffs and foam at the edge of an island, a fisherman on the rocks sees it. He is no ordinary fisherman. Dictys the netter stoops, draws the chest ashore, opens it, and finds Danae and the child. Perseus's face, the story says, shone like morning. Dictys is a good man. He makes Danae his daughter. She and the boy are sheltered and fed in his house on the island of Seriphos. Years pass. Perseus grows into a giant-eared hero, tall beyond measure, quick with hand and heart, trained in the arts of strength and service. But Seriphos is not all warm hearths. The king, Polydectes, is greedy, cunning, and cruel. He casts Danae into slavery for refusing his marriage. Perseus, out at sea, returns to find his mother mistreated. He storms the palace, lifts a stone mill as if it were nothing, and the king's presence, already tried, restrains himself at the pleadings of Dictys and of Danae. Polydectes laughs and plots. He calls a great feast and asks every guest to bring a gift. Perseus, poor and proud, brings nothing and is mocked. When insult becomes unbearable, the brave youth, driven by shame and a flashing vision he once had in a dream, cries out a reckless boast. He will bring the head of the Gorgon. explodes. The king's laughter rings loudest. But fortunes in these stories turn on promises. Perseus's vow binds him. He has dreamed once of a goddess in armor, gray-eyed Pallas Athene. In the dream, she showed him a shield and warned him of Medusa, fair once, monstrous now. Snakes for hair, lips stubborn like a viper's, and the fatal power that any mortal who looked upon her would be turned to stone. Perseus returns to the cliff and prays. 3 times he begs for help. On the 3rd time, a small cloud breaks, and in it appears not simply 1 but 2 divine allies, Athene and Hermes. Athene speaks in that measured, piercing way of the goddess who sees through men to their hearts. Hermes, winged at his heels, offers magical tools. Athene gives Perseus a polished bronze shield, not to look at Medusa directly, but at her reflection. Hermes gives winged sandals to carry him, a diamond sword to strike, and the cap of darkness, the gift of vanishing from the nymphs. So the boy who had been pushed out to sea now leaps from the cliff and flies across the world. He rides the sandals north over islands and continents, across lakes and rivers and frozen plains, until he reaches the uncanny land of everlasting night, where 3 gray sisters live, the terrible sisters who share 1 eye and 1 tooth between them. Perseus steals their single eye to force them to tell the way to the nymphs, and when they refuse, he threatens to cast that eye into the sea unless they bargain. They tell him where the nymphs are, and he returns the eye to them. They fall asleep, helmed in ice, and drift away like bergs. The nymphs give him more gifts, the cap of darkness, and a goat skin to wrap Medusa's head. Athene instructs him to use the mirrored shield to see the Gorgon's image without looking at her directly. Hermes teaches him the sandals and the sword. Perseus enters the land far west or far north. The map slurs here. Myth resists coordinates. He finds the Gorgons sleeping like obscene giants, brazen-clawed creatures, 2 of them squalid. But Medusa, who tosses and turns, appears, despite her monstrous dread, strangely tragic. Perseus takes the shield, watches her mirror image, and with 1 faithful stroke, severs her head. He wraps it immediately in the goat skin, turning away, and so saves himself from her petrifying gaze. The 2 foul sisters wake, howling, and pursue. Perseus, with sandals pounding the clouds, outruns the flying sisters and escapes. But the head is not mere gore. Its blood hissing on the sand births venomous snakes, the progenitors of desert adders. Medusa's head will become a weapon in Athene's hand, a shield pendant of terror against the foes of gods and men. On his way back, Perseus steadies the world. He frees Andromeda, daughter of an Ethiopian king, chained to rocks as a sacrifice to a sea monster, because her mother claimed she was fairer than a sea goddess. Perseus kills the sea beast with a brilliant descent, promises marriage, defeats the treacherous suitor Phineus by unveiling the Gorgon's head. Stone statues of men freeze into a ring of silent gray forever. And then, after a year in the African court full of honors, he sets sail with his bride and returns home. Polydectes is still cruel. Perseus shows him the Gorgon's head. The hall stiffens. The tyrant and his guests freeze into stone. Perseus gives the kingdom to Dictys and sails on to Argos, only to be cursed by fate in a twist that is a cautionary Greek echo. By an errant, quite meant for glory, Perseus accidentally strikes and kills his grandfather Acrisius, fulfilling the ancient prophecy in a grim, unavoidable finality. Across to the east, other stories unfurl like great sails in the old poems. Hear the sound of an odyssey of a different sort, Jason and the Argonauts. It begins in Iolcos, where Peleus stole the throne and shoved his rightful heir's son aside. That boy Jason was fostered by Charon, the centaur who was part human, part horse, soft-eyed and wise, who taught Jason music, hunting, medicine, and how to ride. When Jason comes of age, he returns, and the oracle's prophecy hangs over his head. A man with one sandal would take the kingdom. He loses a sandal in the river, strides into the palace, and inadvertently triggers plots that land him the impossible task. Fetch the golden fleece from Colchis beyond the known sea. And so the call goes out. Heroes from all corners of the Greek world, Heracles with his lion skin and heavy club, Orpheus, who plays a harp that can charm stones and storms, Castor and Pollux, the twin horsemen, Peleus, many brave sons of mighty houses, all gather to build a ship named Argo, for Argus the shipwright carves her. Argus even nails a branch from the oracle oak into her beak, so that she will have a voice. Orpheus sings her to life. The men mount 50 oars and row out into the unknown. Their journey is a mosaic of wonders and peril. They cross waters that no Helen had dared. They sight the blue wandering rocks that crush ships like bugs. They face wolves, giants, and city kingdoms of the east. They bury companions lost to strange boar hunts and river sickness. On the river to Colchis, Jason wins the bride mother Chalciope to plead for him to her father, the king Aedes. Yet the fleece is bound by impossible tasks. Medea, king's daughter, witch maiden, cunning beyond counting, falls for Jason and plots to help him because she loves him. She gives him a salve to brave fire, advice for how to tame fire-breathing bulls, and sow serpent teeth that sprout armed warriors. She promises him a plan to charm the serpentine guardian of the fleece while he takes it down from its tree. Jason tames bulls, sows teeth, and watches armed men spring from the earth. When those men rush him, he casts his helmet among them and sewed, or by Medea's cunning, they are turned inward on each other and destroy themselves. He comes back with the golden fleece to his waiting ship, but his triumph sours. Medea kills her younger brother to slow Aedes' pursuit. The Argonauts are stained by blood. Fate punishes with storms, guiding them to strange, distant isles, to Circe's island, where sorcery chastens the guilty, to sirens whose songs could lure even heroes to their deaths, to the whirlpools Charybdis and Scylla, from which only gods and quick wits save them. They pull Argo across the land into unknown seas, meet the daughters of the north wind, lose men to enchanted lakes, and come back changed and partially ruined. Jason conquers a fleece that once freed a soul from a lingering dream of home. Phrixus's ghost had pleaded for the fleece to be brought back to free him to rest among his fathers. Yet the tale ends in tragedy. Medea's dark ingenuity that took them so far becomes poison in their folk's life. She tricks Peleus' daughters into trying to rejuvenate their father, and he is killed. Her vengeance heals Aeson, Jason's father, but soon Medea is betrayed, and the old story warns us. Help from evil hands gathers a heavy cost. Jason's victory turns sour. His house collapses in jealousy and murder. The Argonauts themselves scatter, some die, some fade into other myths. Their story is a repeated Greek lesson. Courage and glory dance close to cunning and doom. Then comes Theseus, forged like bronze in the fires of hardship. Born in Troezen, a boy named Theseus grows under the sorrowful eye of his mother Aethra. For years, she takes him to the temple of Poseidon, and in secret tells him of a great flat stone beneath, which lies his father's sword and sandals. But not until he is grown does Theseus lift the stone. Underneath he finds them a sword and sandals, tokens that will change his life. His mother points across the sea to Attica, a fertile, walled, and free land, full of song and olive. She bids him go to Athens and present the sword and sandals to King Aegeus. Show him this and take what the gods send you. Yet Theseus does not go by ship. He chooses the long, dangerous road, because heroes in these old tales must prove themselves by battle and by the righting of wrongs. The road is thick with robber kings and death dealers. Periphetes, the club-bearer Cines, who bent pines to tear travelers apart, Siren, who washed a man's feet and then kicked him to be eaten by a tortoise below, Procrustes, who took travelers, strapped them to his bed, and stretched or chopped them to fit his shape. Theseus meets and slays each one, using cunning where brute force fails, turning each robber's art against him and freeing the land of their terror. He gathers ill-treated people, gives them back their stolen property, and becomes beloved across the valley. At last he arrives in Athens, and in a great hall scene so Greek it could be on an amphora, he meets King Aegeus. A moment of recognition, the sword and sandals in Theseus' hand break the wall of silence. Father and son embrace, but the shadow of the old crime remains. Every generation pays debts not of its making. Minos of Crete demands a tribute. Every year Athens must send 7 youths and 7 maidens into a labyrinth, a twisting maze built by the brilliant and tragic craftsman Daedalus that holds a monster, the Minotaur, a half-bull, half-man who feeds on human flesh. Theseus offers himself among the youths. He vows to slay the beast. Ariadne, Minos' daughter, falls in love with the young Athenian. She gives him a sword, a plan, and a thread, a clue to find his way in and out of the maze. In the dark corridors, wielding the sword, using the thread, he finds the Minotaur. The battle is ferocious. The beast roars like a torn mountain. But Theseus is swift and clever. He wounds the monster, pins him, and kills him in the narrow pass, then, by the thread, retraces his way back with the other youths and maidens. They escape, and Ariadne becomes Theseus' bride. But myth fastens on an old fault. He forgets to raise the white sails he promised his father to signal his safe return. Aegeus, straining daily from the cliff, sees only black sail and thinks his son dead. Grief overwhelms him, and he throws himself into the sea. The Aegean holds his name forever. In Athens, Theseus becomes a lawgiver and a king, a unifier of boroughs, a slayer of beasts, and a founder of fair order. And yet his life, like all the great legends, does not end peacefully. Pride, betrayal, and the reach for more than any one mortal should claim bring him low. The stories tell of the ruin with which heroes are rewarded when they reach for immortal things. So ends our long candlelight tour of Perseus, lightning-quick vengeance, Jason's wide and costly voyage, and Theseus, road of iron-hewn justice. These are not children's nursery rhymes or shallow fables. They are medicine for the heart, warnings and lights. They show us the courage that rids a land of tyrants, the cunning that brings the golden fleece, the devotion that frees chains, and the traps that follow when we bind ourselves to promises hasty or to help given from the dark. From the time when men sang these tales round hearths, their voices have not died. The Gorgon's head, the golden fleece, the labyrinth's thread, they live on in our language and our imagination. They teach us that glory is costly, that even the best of men can be led into ruin by love or pride, or by accepting the help of those who themselves are tempted to evil, and that the gods, if you believe them, watch both to aid and to chastise. Above all, they whisper, "Do what is right, do it with courage, and expect the world to be complicated when you have done." When you hear the names Perseus, Danae, Jason, Medea, Theseus, Ariadne, remember they are more than deeds. They are stories about human hearts, about rescue, rash vows, clever instruments, sorceresses, and the fragile line between good and evil. Keep them coming back like seasons. They warm us, chill us, and teach us as surely as any law. That is the tale. Keep the thread. Keep the shield polished. And if ever you find a stone lying on a hillside with something hidden beneath, lift it only when you are ready to carry what you find.